Hi everyone, this is Jessica Schmidt with the Iowa State Dairy Judging Team, and me and Haley Jackson will be teaching you about how to give oral reasons. So here's an outline of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to start with the definition, go into note-taking, the format of your reasons, which includes introduction, top pair, middle pair, bottom pair, and your conclusion. We're going to talk about transitions, the rubric, and the presentation. Oral reasons. So what are oral reasons? Oral reasons are like you're painting a picture of the class to the judge and telling a story. So you want to use a lot of visual terms and help them see what you see in the class. This helps provide you with many important skills for your future, like public speaking, persuasive techniques, organizational skills, and the ability to think on your feet and not just memorize. So typically after you're done giving a set of reasons, the judge is going to ask you a question, maybe like, which heifer in this class stood on the best set of feet and legs? And you have to think on your feet and confidently answer and say, number 2. You don't want to think about it too much. You don't want to look back on your notes. You want to be confident. Tools for note-taking. So note-taking will happen while you're looking at the class. You're going to be taking good descriptive notes. And so this is what you need for it. You need a notebook or a tablet. You need to have a pen or a pencil at hand, and you need to have a rubber band or a binder clip, because typically in person, when you're judging many classes, you're going to have cards that you hand in after each class, and you turn them into a judge, and that just kind of blocks in your placing. So that binder clip and that rubber band will be very helpful so you don't lose any of those cards. Why would you take notes? Now, if you're at a bigger contest and you're giving maybe 4 sets of reasons or more, and with every class you're looking at 4 cows, you're going to want to have some notes to reflect on, because if you're looking at 4 different classes for reasons, that's 16 cows altogether. That's going to be kind of difficult to remember every one of those cows and exactly what they looked like. So those notes will help you gather your thoughts and recall those key points in between your classes. So also when you're giving your reasons, it will help you remember every class in between. So there are many different styles of note-taking. There's no way right, there's no way wrong, but I recommend that once you start a format, you stick to it, because you don't want to be giving a set of reasons, learning or memorizing them from one way of note-taking, and then have to switch to a totally different format. That's going to be so much more difficult on you as a presenter. So make sure your notes are always complete. Don't leave anything hanging. Finish your sentences, finish your thoughts. Here's an example of how you can set up your notebook. Of course, it's up to you, but this is just a recommended way to help you start. So at the top, you want to put your class name. You always want to put the breed and the age. So Holstein winter calves, Jersey 2-year-olds. And then you want to put the placing. You never want to forget that placing, because that will help you so much in your reasons. So the example for this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you might want to put your general observation. So if 1 was the predominantly white cow, put that. You can say that in your reasons, and that will really help visualize for the judge. If number 4 had the best memory system, put that. Go ahead and put that. Maybe 3 was show-stopping. You can put that too. So then you want to set up your opening statement. So maybe number 1 had the best memory system. That can be your opening statement, is the cow with the best memory system starts this class of Holstein winter calves, and then you would say your placing. So now we're using the placing example of 1, 2, 3, 4. So you start off with 1/2. And since 1 is in your first place, go ahead and use those S terms. So that means tallest, the sharpest. And typically that would be your number 1 cow, is when you're using those kind of terms. And then otherwise you can use ER terms. So if 3 is actually the tallest, but 1 is taller than 2, go ahead and say taller. Now, don't lie if you don't want to say that 1 is the tallest if 3 is actually taller, because the judge knows, the judge has seen the class too, and you don't want to lie. You want to be accurate. And then for 2 over 1, you want to set up a grant. So a grant is kind of reflecting on what 2 has on 1 that could make her a contender for going over her and winning over her. So I put 1 in first, but maybe 2 has the best set of feet and legs. So you could say, I recognize that 2 stands on the better set of feet and legs. However, she uses that advantage to place over 3 today. So that could be a grant, is just reflecting on what qualities 2 has to put her in second place. So here's the format of your reasons. You have your introduction, your top pair, your middle pair, your bottom pair, and then your conclusion. Then each pair has a comparison and a grant. So I kind of just talked about that using those ist and er terms and reflecting on why the cow in second place could be over 1. What features does she have that put her in the place that she's in? So comparison, 1 over 2. 1 is longer from the pole to her pins. 1 has a higher rear udder attachment. And then your grant, 2 over 1. I recognize that 2 has a smoother fore udder. I recognize that 2 is sharper over her pins. So here's how you want to set up your reasons. You want to prioritize. You want to talk the most important parts first. Say 1 has an outstanding memory system. Talk about that first. If it's that much obvious, talk about that first. And then you want to talk about the minor points last. So if 1 stands on a better set of feet and legs than 2, but it's not that much different, save that for the last thing. And then make sure you say those points that make her better in that category. Be specific. Don't just say better. You want to be very detailed about your explanation. So it's very important to use this method. It helps the judge visualize the class. For your opening statement, you want to say the name of the class and make sure that's the breed and the age, Holstein 3-year-olds. You want to say your placing, and you want to have a statement about the top animal or top pair. So the pair of cows with the best memory system starts this class of Holstein 3-year-olds, which I place 1, 2, 3, 4. Say it's a very obvious top individual, you could say the cow with the best memory system. You don't have to say top pair. You can say the top individual if it's a very obvious top placing. For your top pair, you're going to talk first over second using comparative terminology. Then you're going to grant. So grant 2 over 1. And that will help you move into your second pair. And so for your top pair, you can use those S terms, like number 1 is the sharpest. If she's not the sharpest, you can use those ER terms. So 1 is taller at the withers and longer from her pole to her pins. You don't want to say 1 is tall, 1 is long-bodied. You want to say she is taller, she is longer. That will help the judge see why it goes over the cow in second. Then you have your middle pair, so you're talking second over third with comparative terminology, and then you have a grant for why you could see 3 over 2. You provide a lot of details when you're doing this. So here's an example that has a lot of detail. 1 has a higher, wider rear udder attachment and a longer, smoother fore udder attachment than number 2. Not 1 has a better udder than number 2. What about that udder places her over number 2? What is so different? And then you have your bottom pair. So you're talking your third over your fourth with comparative terminology. You grant 4 over 3 with comparative terminology. And then you criticize number 4 with descriptive terminology. Now, there's a big difference between criticizing and bashing. If I were giving reasons, I wouldn't say, now 4 falls to the bottom because she's ugly. Now, that cow made it to the show, and that cow has owners that really believe in her. So you don't want to be rude. You don't want to say something like that. Something you could say is, 4 falls to the bottom of this class today because she's lacking the overall quality of memory system. She has the weakest attachments in this class today. So that is something you could say to not be so rude and be nicer about it. And then you have your closing statement. So restate the class name and placing. So once again, I placed this class of Brownswill's 2-year-olds in order of 1, 2, 3, 4. Something that simple. Just put a bow on it. And then here are some ideas for transitions. You can use your grant to move to your next comparison. So I recognize that 2 stands on a better set of feet and legs than 1. However, she places over 3 today in a difficult middle comparison. So you can move on to your next comparison, and you can say if it was an easy decision, maybe it was a tough one, you could say it was a difficult pair. If it's a difficult pair, that means that you had a hard time choosing which one should go over the other. If it was an easy middle pair, you're saying it was easy to see 1 over 2. Here's the rubric on how the judge will be scoring you. So your content is worth 35 points, and your content needs to be accurate and complete. Accurate is you're telling the truth. The judge has seen the class, they know what's correct. So make sure that you're not making anything up. You're not just speaking to speak. And then complete means that you're not leaving anything hanging. So you're being descriptive. You're using those descriptive terminology. And then you want to be positive with your approach. You never want to bash a cow like we talked about. You want to make sure that you're evaluating all the strengths and all the weaknesses, and that you're briefly saying them. You don't want to linger on a cow for too long. You want each cow to have probably the same amount of time. And then your delivery, this is worth 15 points. You use proper terminology, grammar, and punctuation. Again, you want to be very professional. Speak convincingly at a moderate speed. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to go too slow. You want the judge to understand you very clearly. And if you're going too slow, the judge almost feels like they have to drag it out of you. Be sincere and courteous. And your reason should take about 2 minutes if you're talking about a cow class. They should take about 1.5 minutes if you're talking about heifers. Altogether, your points equal 50. So that's the highest you can get is 50. Points to success. Describe the animal from front to back, from top to bottom. This can help the judge visualize what you're trying to convey. So you want to talk about their neck, their ribs, their udder. So you would do it in that order. You wouldn't go from ribs to udder to neck. That's really confusing. That's all over the place. So keep similar components together. If I wouldn't just bounce from her legs to her udder to her legs, that would be really confusing. Tell the officials if the pairs were easy, hard, similar, or contrasting. They want to know that too. Emphasize the important differences between the animals. Again, that's being descriptive, saying the predominantly black individual. Use variation in your descriptive terms. Not all the animals can be predominantly black. That would be super confusing for the judge. Use variation in your terms. That just keeps this conversation very interesting for the judge. Use proper eye contact. This shows that you're confident. Have the correct posture. Be standing straight. There are many different styles to reasons, and they all can be successful. They can all do very well, but you got to use them properly. Reasons need to be accurate, concise, well organized, and conversational. So it's almost as if you're just talking to the judge, not giving a presentation, and it's your turn to speak on why you did this. So it's like a conversation. Here are some key points for the overall presentation of your reasons. You want to remove headwear, don't be wearing a hat, enter the room with confidence, but do not be cocky. Make eye contact with the reason taker. Have a pleasant facial expression. If the reason taker asks for your contestant number, answer with a firm yes, or yes it is. If they say, is your number 33? I would say, yes it is. I would say, yup, or uh-huh. Be confident, be professional. Stand 8 to 10 feet from the reason taker if space allows. Don't be hovering over them. That would be a little awkward. Have a proper distance. Have proper posture. Stand with feet at the same width as your shoulder. Have your feet parallel, body erect, hands behind your back. Just look confident. Other points are try not to use your notes. Try to have this all memorized. Not using your notes will help you get extra points. Talk with a firm and persuasive voice, but do not shout. No one wants to be shouted at. Be powerful in your opening statement. This is what's going to get the attention of the judges. Your opening statement can really make or break your overall presentation. Use emphasis and fluctuate your voice. If something's obvious, show it with your voice. Paint a picture for the listener so that they can mentally see it. Again, that's using those descriptive terms, moving front to back, top to bottom. Use identifying characteristics to avoid redundancy. You want to make sure that your time is not too short, it's not too long. Again, 2 minutes for a cow class and 1.5 minutes for heifer sets. Be organized. Always give the most important information first, and then always use correct grammar. Be professional. And be confident. You got this. This is your time to share your thoughts, what you think of the class, and really persuade the judge to see the class as you see it and tell them why you're right. Be confident, don't be cocky, and go out there and get them. So you got this. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the best of luck.